This is Behind the Mic. Local and worldwide interviews with athletes, entertainers, and you. A talk show that will engage, inform, and take you to the edge, maybe even over. Now, from the Big Z studios in suburban Chicago, here's the host of Behind the Mic, Gary Zahara.
Thanks, Mitch. My next guest's career in music spans 60 years and counting, including composing the themes to some of the most popular TV series of my generation. And for the first time since 1975, he's released 2 new original albums, conducting a combination of bluegrass and blues with Message from the Mountains and Echoes from the Delta. The most decorated composer in television history, Mike Post, joins me behind the mic right after this.
Team Keys and your financial services division manager, Whitley Brooks Edmondson, specializing in affordable insurance and investments. Call 248-403-0919 to book your appointment. Slugmaster, turning batters into hitters. Log on to slugmaster.com for a dealer near you.
His signature themes have resonated with TV viewers for over 50 years, from the Rockford Files, LA Law, Hill Street Blues, and NYPD Blue. And probably the most recognizable 2-note drop from the Law & Order franchise, just to name a few. Please welcome Emmy Award-winning and 5-time Grammy Award-winning musician and composer, Mike Post. Hi, Mike. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, Gary. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Thanks for coming on. It's a pleasure. How's things in Los Angeles? Fall weather is still warm out there for you?
Yep. Living a dream in California, right? The truth of the matter is, I can't wait to have the weather cool down a little bit. We had rather hot summer, so.
Did you have a busy or relaxing summer? Did you do a lot of work, or were you just hanging out?
Both. A lot of travel, and that's always fun, but then got a lot accomplished. I'm sort of like a teacher, I finish up the middle to the end of May, and I start back in September, the first part of September. So I hit the ground running and actually doing 3 shows. So it's fun,
We're going to jump right into it. Obviously, we're going to talk about your TV career and then the new albums that you have out. Great new music. So let's get right into it. So I'm just basically, how does a son of an architect growing up in the Valley get an interest in music at age 6? Talk about that.
Like many stories that you'll hear on your show, it's just this confluence of all these crazy facts and weird sort of DNA, and it's like, wow, how the hell did this happen? You end up sort of amazed because there's all these desperate parts coming together to make, this career this way. I'm not formally educated. I went on the road. I didn't go to college. I just, started playing music, and I've been a member of the Musicians Union since I was 16. So I started working and doing this for a living and getting paid for it when I was 16. And at that point, I had no idea where I was going to end up, just as long as it was in the river of music. I had no preconceived ideas on whether I was going to play it in clubs, whether I was going to play it in the studio, whether I never even dreamt about being an arranger or producer, much less a composer. I just got to do this. So it's a twisty turny, 74 years since I first sat at a piano and went, oh, that's what it is. Oh my, this is what I'm supposed to be doing,
I ask every artist or star that comes out of the industry from Hollywood, either local or overseas or in Los Angeles or New York, no opportunity to play sports. You didn't have any interest in sports?
Oh yeah. I played high school football. I played Little League. I played, but I was mediocre at best, determined, and I kept showing up to the gigs on Friday night with stuff busted and cut and everything else after football. And the leader of the band that I first went to work for, he said, "Hey, are you any good at football?" I said, "Well, I lettered, as a freshman, a 10th grader. That's what we called a freshman at that time. I said, I lettered, but we're not very good." And he said, "Well, are you any good?" I said, "Well, I'm 5'8" and 170 pounds and slow." I said, "But compared to the other guys on the team, I'm pretty good, and I'm pretty big for 15. I'm pretty big." Well, I was that big when I was 11, and then all of a sudden, man, they just all grew, and I kept looking at the game from flat on my back. Anyway, he said, "You're pretty good at the music part of this stuff." He said, I hate to see you showed up all banged up and your hands all." He said, "Maybe you ought to just think about music." I said, "Yeah, I think you're right." So that's no, I'm a huge sports fan. In fact, I'll be in Chicago in 3 weeks to see a football game at Soldier Field.
Really?
Yeah. So
So what he said, Niners, Bears, or
Bears.
okay? You're a Bears
Yeah.
fan?
I'm not a huge Bears fan. I'm more. This is probably sacrilege to say, in anywhere near Chicago,
Don't
but
say
I'm
Green Bay,
actually.
Mike. We might have to end the interview.
No. I'm a Phillies fan. I'm a Philadelphia fan, both baseball and football. So
Oh,
I'm
that's
actually.
fine. As long as you don't say Green Bay, that's fine. That's
No,
good.
no, no,
Yeah.
no, 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 no. No. Although going to Lambeau that's a great experience as well. If you've never been to a game at Lambeau Field, people should do that. At any rate,
I read that your life revolved around music and the subculture of the Valley, and kind of like American Graffiti. What character from American Graffiti do you think you resonated with?
oh, I was definitely that little pretend tough guy. I mean, high school linebacker. You know, growing up the way I did, you really didn't have to be that tough. You just had to act it. So, you know, kind of longish hair for the late 50s, early 60s, and sunglasses, and like just pretend. You didn't. There was no guns. There was no knives. There was no. There was almost no drugs. In fact, the only drugs I ever saw as a young person were on the gig,
Mm-hmm.
were attached to the music. My high school, no drugs. It just was before all that. I graduated in 62, and it was really kind of innocent. It was just, it was a great time to grow up. Cars, guitars, cruising, all that kind of stuff. And I was just I was just swimming in this river of music.
So you had some famous classmates at Grant High School. Tom Selleck, who went on to be the man at Magnum PI, the star of Magnum PI, and you obviously did the theme to that. And
Yep.
also Mickey Dolenz from the Monkees. Any
Yeah.
chance did you was there an opportunity for you to reach out and maybe collaborate with Mickey and the Monkees when you were getting into the music
Nope.
business?
Nope. Never. We knew each other in school, but that was it, and never crossed paths in the record business. And uh, there was other guys too. All the guys in Toto were behind me at Grant High School, the Picaros and so forth. And it was a great school to go to. The music scene at the school was completely jive. In those days, it was everybody in the rock and roll side of it, and then the other guys, the jazz guys and the classical guys, and they really looked down on all of us that were making a living and playing and getting hired and doing work in the studios and in the clubs. And so I didn't mess at all with the music department at Grant High School, and I just completely did it. I had my my valley life and my work life in Hollywood, and so it was two separate things.
I saw also read that Ray Charles was an idol of yours. Was he the major influence, or were there other people that had a hand in it as
Oh,
well?
oh, there was the influences were very diverse and very big. My parents were huge music fans, so the house was filled with music all the time, and it was everything from you know kind of nouveau classical like Grand Canyon Suite and stuff like that to Dvorak and to you know great piano music, Liszt and Chopin, and then there was there was tons of jazz, tons of Dixieland and Ella Fitzgerald and Louis Armstrong, and it was just I just got to hear everything. My parents were so enthused about music, and then when I showed, some promise as a little kid player, they were like, okay, what do you need? Let's get him some lessons. And that worked out well for a few years until baseball. And I quit the lessons for baseball, but I kept the piano and I played every day. So that's kind of the way it went. My career was very strange because I had all these idols: Chuck Berry, Bo Diddley, Ray Charles, all these. And by the time I'm, like in my early 20s, I'm working with them. I'm meeting them. Hey, it's like that James Taylor song, "Hey, Mister, that's me up on the jukebox." At 19, I'm in the studios and, I got You Babes on the radio, and I go, well, wait a second, that's me playing guitar, that's me playing 12 string on a thing, it's like, wow, here I am already, and it was, it kind of happened so steadily but fast in a weird kind of way that I never had time to think about it or dwell on it or even look in the rearview mirror. I just was next. And it was looking back, it was very odd. It was very, very odd. So I credit all the people that were kind to me and nice to me and gave me opportunities that maybe I earned them with talent and elephant balls to go in there and say, yeah, I can do this stuff. I mean,
Right.
but the truth is, I am. I don't care who you've ever interviewed or who you're going to interview. You're never going to speak to a more fortunate person than me. I mean, I didn't have to come from Chicago or Des Moines or any place, to be. I was here. I could play, and wow, these doors opened a crack, and I was able to, get my way into the real stuff. I was part of this thing called the Wrecking Crew, which is the studio scene here in LA. And man, the next thing I knew, I'm on the radio as a musician. Next thing I know, the first 6, 7, 8 months as a working studio musician, I was scared to death, but operable. And after that, I was going, no, that's not what the strings ought to be doing. No, the bass line ought to, I'm going, wow, what, who, who, who died and left you the keys to the creative thing? So, then I started arranging, and arranging led to producing. Arranging and producing led to a Grammy for Classical Gas, and that led to the Andy Williams Show, which led to film television with Cannell and my late partner Pete Carpenter. And it's just like, how did all these little gears mesh in such a way to afford somebody like me a career like I've had?
When you started playing clubs at 15 and working with different groups at that time, did you think you could have a career in music, or did you just figure, what the hell, I'll just do this until maybe something
Oh,
else
no,
comes
no,
up?
no. No, there was no plan B. There was nothing else. There was never I was either gonna play, teach it maybe, repair instruments, whatever I had to do. There was no plan B. There was like, who am I?
Right.
Well, I'm a human being, I'm an American. Oh, wait a second. I'm a middle-class Jewish kid from the Valley that learned how to read, write, and orchestrate and conduct and produce and all this other jazz. I'm a musician.
Right.
I feel, you probably feel fortunate to be on the air. Okay. I feel fortunate. Here I am, 80 years of age. I'm still in the band. When I'm done with this interview, I'm going in there and do an episode of SVU today. Okay. How fortunate, how absolutely fortunate to be able to swim in this river of music, to live, to have a life in art. It's funny when I go to Berkeley or SC or UCLA, or I'm getting ready in February to teach for a couple of days at IU in Bloomington, Indiana, and inevitably some kid will raise his hand, young person will raise their hand and say, Mr. Post, how have you been able to monetize this so well? We understand that you blah, blah, airplanes and this and that and all that. I go, well, let me think about it. Do you figure I got my MBA in, from Wharton or Columbia? Because I didn't even go to college. And, I have no business acumen except a few principles, which are don't lie, cheat, don't steal. Okay. Don't put your name on stuff that you didn't write. You don't need to lie about anything. Just tell the truth. Okay. What else? Don't make musical decisions based on money. The money will follow the art. You're an artist. I'm not a money guy. I don't know anything except live below your means, spend less than you make and save some money and listen to your big brother who's good at money and I was good at music. It's such a sweet life that I have, such a privileged life that I have. I've never been sued. I've never deposed anybody. I've never sued anybody. Nobody can say I did anything wrong in this business. I mean, maybe they don't like my music. Maybe they don't like me personally. Okay, I'm sorry. But I have a sweet life. I really do. And I'm surrounded by art and artists. I've basically worked for the three guys you mentioned in your open.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what? They were my best friends. They were my dear collaborating friends. Unfortunately, two of them passed away, but Dick Wolf's still ticking and he's doing pretty good.
Mike, in the 50 years, I find it hard to believe that anybody would say a bad thing about your TV music, considering the work that you've done with these series. And we'll touch on that down the line. But early on in your career, how fortunate were you? Talk about working with Sonny and Cher, and then at the time, an unknown Kenny Rogers.
Yeah, it's just one more of these gears that kept meshing. So I have this dear friend named Mike Rubini, Michelle Rubini, and great piano player. And he calls me up one day. He says, "Hey, that finger picking thing you do on your electric 12 string? Because we knew each other since the clubs, and he's making it as part of the Wrecking Crew. And I was doing demos and I was doing some session work, but not a lot. And he calls me up and says, that rolling thing you do, I say, it's called Travis picking. And he goes, yeah, he said, I've been messing around with that kind of thing on a harpsichord. And I'm working for this duet that were called Anthony and Cleo, but now they changed their name to Sonny and Cher. Would you like to? I think we could do that together. Why don't you blah, blah, blah.
Anthony and Cleo, that was the name before Sonny and Cher? Wow.
Yeah. So anyway,
that probably wouldn't have worked out too well if it was Anthony and Cleo. I think Sonny and Cher is more.
Maybe it was Caesar and Cleo. I don't know what the hell. Anyway, they had, for about 5 minutes, and then their first kind of little tiny hit was called Baby Don't Go. I didn't play on that. So then Rabini calls me up and said, how would you, that, okay, great. Next session is I Got You, Babe. And I'm playing on it. And, and in that little band, in that little orchestra at Gold Star, are Barney Kessel and, all the Don Peake and all these big time Wrecking Crew guys, Hal Blaine or Earl Palmer, or, just Lyle Ritz, all these great guys. And I went, wow, I guess I'm in. I guess they like what I do. And that led to, my sort of, I'm addicted to accomplishment musically, not financially, but art-wise, music-wise. I got ideas and I can't quiet the ideas. So after 6-8 months of being a player and loving it, and then I started to realize I had big ideas about what the orchestra ought to be doing. That led me to studying and arranging. Okay, that led me to getting gigs as an arranger, which led me to getting gigs as a record producer and writing songs and, interfacing with other artists. So one of the first ideas I had when Jimmy Bowen hired me, he was head of Warner's Reprise A&R, and he hired me as a record producer because he was starting a little independent production company called Amos Productions, which was great. Any rate, so he hired me and I said, I got an idea for like a extended version of Peter, Paul and Mary, except electrified. So it's folk rock, right? Which is kind of what Sonny and Cher started out as. And so I said, yeah, 2 guys, 2 girls. And so I based it on a guy named Mike Settle, who was a terrific singer and writer. And he'd been a member of the Christie Minstrels, and another friend of mine, Terry Williams, and then we put female piece in at Thelma Camacho, great singer, wonderful singer. And we couldn't find somebody to sing baritone in it. And finally they came to me and they said, why don't we just use Kenny Rogers right out of the Christie Minstrels? And I went, I'm not so sure. I like him as a guy, but I don't know. He's just, that shows you how smart I am. And Kenny brought, everybody was bringing songs in. Mainly they were Mike Settle songs that he had written for the first album. And Kenny brings in this song from Nashville called Just Dropped In to See What Condition My Condition Was In. I went, oh, wow. It's sort of like dope and roll, it's like this drug thing, And I said, great, let's do that, and that's shows you how smart I am. Kenny was, in my opinion, the least talented of the 4 people that founded the first edition. He ends up being a star for his whole life.
You win your first Grammy at 23. So what's your thought process of what you want to do with your career at that time?
Do as much music as I can possibly do. There's no plan other than take anything that's creative, do anything at any price. Money doesn't matter. All that matters is, wow, do I get to work with really talented people? Do I get to express myself musically? That was the only, there were no guardrails, it's just like, well, let's go, let's play, let's just bigger orchestras, bigger, bigger canvas, more canvases, paint as much as you possibly can. And honestly, I had no design. I had nothing, no marching orders other than make as much music as you can possibly make,
Sitting behind the mic with a Mike Post, award-winning composer of a generation of TV themes and shows throughout 1970 all the way up to present day. I'm going to go back now, Mike. 1968, you had a chance meeting with a veteran arranger named Pete Carpenter, and then basically changed your life forever. And then that led you into running into Stephen J. Cannell. Talk about how that all came together.
Well, it was great. I was actually, it all happened sort of at around the same time, 66, 7, and 8. So, um, you know, being here in LA, you get a chance to rub shoulders with a very wide range of creative people. I meet Steve Cannell on the beach down at Balboa Island, before I could afford to take my family, or at that point, just a wife, no kids yet. But my brother had a kid, and he had a wife, and has a wife still. And we would take our vacations down in the South Bay, Orange County, northern Orange County, Balboa, Newport Beach. And so we rented a house on the middle of Balboa Island for 2 weeks. And it was about 2-3 blocks from the beach. So one Saturday morning, my brother and I were going to stake out some territory on the beach early in the morning, about 7 o'clock in the morning. It's overcast, but our parents are coming down, so we gotta make sure we got room on the beach. So we go down there, we jump over the little seawall, and right where we had agreed to meet with our parents, there's all these towels. So my brother goes a little bit down the beach to try and find some, area that wasn't spoken for. Well, I finally started moving these towels a little bit to make room, and I hear, hey, quit moving my towels. And I look back at this big, giant, opulent beachfront house, and there's this guy standing in the walkway, and I just don't like him. And he's screaming at me, and I don't like that. So I go, I'm not moving these towels. What are you talking about? Hey, God damn it. He gets all pissed off. And so I go, I don't care. So I'm going to jump over the seawall. I'm going to walk up, and I'm going to smack this guy, or at least I'm going to at least confront him. So as I'm walking up, the closer I get to his house, the bigger he gets. And I go, oh, well, this might be actually a handful. But I'm in the back of my mind, my big brother, who is not pretend, he's really tough. I'm just kind of bullshit, but he's really the real guy. Mm-hmm. I hear his whistle, and he screams, Champ, don't do it, don't do it. And that his nickname for me was Champ growing up. Don't do it. And now he comes rolling up. Well, at the time, I'm pretty yoked. I'm, like I said, 5'8", 165, 70 pounds, and, in pretty good shape. But my brother's a tank, an absolute tank. He 5'11", but he's just like an icebox. And this guy's standing in his doorway smoking his little thin cigar. I don't like this guy. His hair is all sprayed. And I'm like, oh, I don't like this guy. So my brother goes, hey, don't anybody throw anything. No punches. He looks at the guy, says, how big are you? And the guy's 6'2". He said, what do you weigh? He said, well, 190. He said, well, he's 5'8", and he weighs about 165 or something. He said, but he's tenacious. You're probably going to get you. But if he doesn't, he's my little brother, and you're going to leave in an ambulance. If it's me and you, I'm going to dismantle you. And the guy looks at him, and I'm looking at the guy, and he looks at Bud, and he looks at me, and he goes, all right, I don't have a chance here with these two. So he goes, right. He goes back in his house. 2 hours, 3 hours later, it's time to go down and be with the parents. And by the way, I take 5 steps away, and I turn to my brother. I go, man, what a jerk I am. I did move his towels. God, why did I get so huffy with this guy and ready to go? And I owe this guy an apology. I'm dead wrong. I really was a jerk, Maybe I had a few too many beers the night before. It was early in the morning. There's a lot of excuses, none of them good. So we get back down there. Now he's down there with a playpen, his parents. He's got his young son in the playpen, his wife. I'm going to go, wow, are you a jerk? Wow. I walk right over and I go, okay, I'm wrong. please accept my apology. I'm just completely out of line here. He goes, no, there's plenty of room for everybody. I don't know why I got so territorial. I'm sorry. So we shake hands. He goes, hey, what's your name? I'm Mike and Stephen. Okay, blah, blah, blah. He said, what do you do? And I said, well, I tell him, oh my God, I love the first edition. I love classical gas. That's great music. I said, well, what do you do? He said, oh, nothing. He said, I said, I'm trying to be a writer, but I've never sold a damn thing. I said, well, that's a giant house. He goes, oh, my parents are rich. He said, but I've never done nothing. I said, well, I'd like to read whatever it is you've written. I'd be happy to read. I don't know anything, but I'd love to read it. Stephen J. Cannell, my best friend, I mean, we go through the rest of his life doing nothing but, making pretty good hit television shows. I have the closest relationship to this guy. If it hadn't been for him, I'd never be in TV. He's the one that said, oh, your music would be great in this. And I'm going, I'm in the rock and roll business. What do I need with TV? All right, if you need me, I'll do. What the hell? I got this friend named Pete Carpenter who had worked with Earl Hagen. He knows about television. We're both arrangers. Maybe I can be a composer. Who knows? Stephen J. Cannell.
Wow, to talk about that's interesting. If you'd maybe not had that meeting, you think maybe your career would have gone left or right or somewhere. But I mean, look at this stable of shows this guy made: Baba Black
And
Sheep, Rockford Files, A-Team, Greatest American Hero. Another one of my favorites that's nobody really talks about is Renegade. But going back to Stephen J. Cannell, what character do you think he resembled more? Now you almost had it out with him. Was he the Dutch Dixon type of Renegade, or was he the James Garner type in Rockford Files?
yeah, yeah, he's more like Garner,
Yeah.
he's like, I mean, big guy, very accomplished athlete, really good athlete, but Cannell didn't want to fight. He wanted to, he just wanted to write, and the only reason he started producing was to protect his writing. Well, the only reason pardon me, the only reason I started producing records was to protect my arrangements, So we're really the same guys, both of us dyslexic, both of us kind of ADHD, kind of knuckleheads, and I mean, at least he graduated college, barely. We we had the greatest relationship. We just had so much fun together, and he loved Pete. When he asked me to do the music for Toma, I said, well, I can't do that without this buddy of mine, Pete Carpenter. He really knows how to put music to film. And hell, I'm a rock and roll guy, that learned how to orchestrate and read and write and conduct, so it was wonderful. It was like my growing up time in the valley. It was kind and sweet with Stephen. You hear all these, I'm sure you've heard a million stories about how the music business, the TV business, the entertainment business in LA, cutthroat, one person lying to the other person, with people screwing over, stealing stuff. And it never happened to me. Not once, nothing. Okay, have I had a couple of times when I was rejected, or they didn't like the music or this or that? Does that hurt? Yep, still hurts to this day. I'm the most decorated guy, the most accomplished guy in TV. It's Johnny Williams in film. It's me in TV. That doesn't matter. If they don't like it, it hurts.
Really? So it still bothers you after all the accolades and all the music that you've put to TV series where people would want to get home and watch it, and the acting was good in it, but also the music really got you into the show, So I'm stunned that it would bother you that people would reject you, or people would reject you, and that it would bother you like that.
Okay, let me tell you the truth. Here's the truth. My entire life, even at my age, has been kind of informed by one word, and that word is next. Okay, so you don't do 7,200 hours of anything, especially network television, without while looking in the rearview mirror. The only way you can do it is looking out the windshield, you know. So I haven't had any time to really sit back and reflect and write my book and blah blah blah. You know, that's number one. Number two, I've grown up idolizing the people that I grew up on. Mancini, you know, Jerry Goldsmith, you know, Johnny Williams, Dave Grusin, you know, those, I mean, I just got so much inspiration by being a fan of their stuff in film and TV. It's impossible for me because you're behind the mic, I'm behind the curtain. Okay, I've lived my life. Now I'm doing this right now. And I'm flattered that you know so much about me and that you're interested in it, and that maybe some of the people that are your audience would give a shit. I'm flattered that, but I don't actually believe it. I don't actually own it inside myself. I'm just talking to you right now. I can't conceive that, just like I couldn't conceive when it's me doing Rockford Files with my name on the record. It's me doing Hill Street with my name on the record. I'm a record producer. I'm the horse. I'm not the writer. The writer's Kenny Rogers. The writer's Mason Williams. The writer's Dolly Parton. You know, the writer's Eddie Van Halen. I'm just a horse, you know. I mean,
well, that probably goes back to the way you were brought up then. So you can probably give credit to your parents, correct? Just the way you were raised back in the Valley?
And my brother. Yeah, my parents and my brother just going, you know, here's the way our family does it. Your word's everything. You know, you're only as good as your morals and your character.
Well, that's not working now in these days, Mike. I'm sure you have that same feeling. Boy, I'm glad I grew up in the era that I grew up in. You know, so
me too. I got kids. I got grandkids. You know, I try and really tell them, look, it's what you do when nobody's looking. All that matters is, what do you see when you look in the mirror? You know, can you try and be a better person today than you were yesterday? That's, you know, do as much good for as many people as you can, starting with yourself. Take care of yourself, but don't do it by stepping over anybody's body or bad mouthing anybody else. You'll never hear me say a bad word about another composer, musician, anybody. I mean, to me, you know, that's not the way to live your life, you know. And I'm not jealous of anybody. I'm not envious of anybody. I look at my peers and my contemporaries and my idols with nothing but, you know, admiration and inspiration. You know, guys, I've been a big brother to a lot of guys and a lot of people. And the secret is, when Tommy Newman has asked me for advice, or Al Silvestri, or any of these guys that are younger than I am and that came up after I did, the guys, I idolize you. You're looking up to me. Are you kidding? Are you kidding me? Tommy Newman, if you can do my job any better than he does it, I'll eat your shoes. You know, that guy is fantastic, you know. So that's the way I think. I think the one human emotion that makes the least sense to me is arrogance. We all come into this world sucking our thumb, looking for our mom, and we go out exactly the same way. And all those Grammys and awards and, you know, financial success and this and that, when your time comes, they don't mean much, buddy. It's like, what kind of a human were you? What kind of a son were you? Husband, brother, father? What kind of a citizen were you?
If you ever watch TV, I grew up, I was born in 1970. If you've ever watched TV shows and you don't know who the hell Mike Post is, you obviously were not paying attention to any of the TV shows from the 70s, 80s, 90s, and today, as he's still cranking out music. As we talked before we came on, he says after this interview, he's got to go do some music for Law and Order SVU. So this guy, 60 plus years with his music. And we talked about how you met Stephen J. Cannell, another guy who made some great TV shows, including my favorite of all time, NYPD Blue. How did the relationship with Stephen Bochco come about?
So Steve Cannell is at Universal, and we're banging it hard, Rockford, Magnum, we're doing good. I mean, we're happy, and he's happy, and we're hot. And first guy since Mancini to take a main title theme and make a hit record out of it. Wow. That's a big damn deal to me, I mean, at the time. So Cannell calls me and says, "Hey, I want you to have lunch with this buddy of mine, me and him and you." I said, "Sure, great." He said, "Yeah, we'll go to the commissary on the lot at Universal." So we do. So go in, we're in a corner, which I never give it a second thought. So I sit there, "Hey, Mike, this is my friend Stephen Bochco. Hey, how you doing?" "Hey, good. Man, I love your music." I said, "Well, thank you very much. I don't know a thing about it." I said, "Well, Cannell's anxious for us to meet." He said, "Yeah." He said, "We're going to do a show together. We're going to try a spinoff of Rockford called Richie Brockelman Private Eye, and we're writing it together." I said, "Oh, that sounds interesting. What is it?" He said, "Oh, it's a young guy, surfer dude, drives a Mustang, lives up in Mount Olympus, on Mount Olympus, which is this community above Laurel Canyon. And he's a private detective, but he lives with his parents." And he said, he's just this kind of wacky kid. I said, "Oh, great. And I said, "Well, tell me about you, Bochco. I want to know who I'm working with." He said, "Well, I'm working on McMillan and Wife and then this one and that one." He said, "But the reason we're sitting in a corner is my deal's almost up here at Universal, and I don't want them to figure out that my deal's almost up. So I want to stay away from the people from the tower, the executives, because, man," he said, I'm struggling. I'm really struggling." I said, "Well, I'll be happy to work with you. This is great." So we do Richie Rocco and Private Eye. It's actually pretty good. A guy named Dennis Dugan is the star, and it was really funny and good. It never caught on, but at the same time, Bochco's just a great guy. I just instantly like working with him. He's funny as hell. He's New York, but he's just smart. So the next thing I know, Bochco's deal runs out of Universal. He doesn't get renewed. He goes over and makes a little deal with MTM. At the time, the head of business affairs at MTM is a former lawyer that I used in the music business named Mel Blumenthal. So Blumenthal calls me up and says, "Hey, I understand you know Bochco." I said, "I do. He's a great guy, Mel. He's a one." Yeah. He seems, yeah. We seem cool. Maybe we'll all get to do something together. Well, a couple of weeks go by. Bochco calls me. He says, "I got a show called Operating Room. Would you and Pete like to do it?" I said, "Hell yeah, we're in." Well, it was a pilot. It didn't sell. To be honest with you, it was kind of the basis for St. Elsewhere, because Bruce Paltrow was also a producer there. Close miss, but okay, it didn't quite sell. Okay. Right away, Bochco, maybe within 3-4 months, comes up with another idea, some crazy thing called Hill Street Blues. Okay. So he calls me and he said, "Hey, would you and Pete like to be involved in this?" And I said, Pete's kind of ill right now. So it's just me for a while, until he had a heart problem, and he needs to get better. Pete was my father's age, 2 years older, actually. So I said, well, what is it? And he said, well, can I send you a script? Sends me a script. Script knocked my socks off. It was so good. I said, man, I'm in. Whatever it is, I'm in. He said, well, that'll help because you're really hot in TV right now. Just your name being involved will help me at a network level. I said, great. He shoots it. I check in with him. How's it going? Oh, it's going great. Blah, 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 blah. From then on, it's me and Bochco. It was just a wonderful.
And the rest is history, right? Basically. Yeah.
Wonderful working relationship. The guy, he and Cannell were just so kind to me and so supportive and so not second guessing. And, I right away understood my role. It's collaborative. I'm supposed to write the kind of music that those guys say, if I could write music, that's what I'd do for my show. And if they don't like it, it's no good. I don't go in with some, my precious music that I brought down from a mountain on a tablet. That's bullshit. It's like, if they don't like it, it's no good. I'll start over,
Did Cannell, Bochco, Donald Belisario, and Dick Wolf, did they give you a lot of direction, or did you have ideas already in your head when they gave you the premise of the shows?
Yeah, you know what? The way my mind works, if some guy tells me, okay, we're going to do this show about a guy that's been in jail, but he got exonerated and really good looking and drives a Firebird and lives in a house trailer in Malibu, and his dad's a truck driver, and and he's Southern, he's kind of Southwestern. Well, right away I go, well, there's 9 different things you could do for Rockford. There's a bunch of different things, So yes, I already have some ideas, but the truth is, what's my real job? Okay. My real job is to listen to what these guys are saying in English and make music out of what they're saying. What's the show really need? And I've received the weirdest directions from these geniuses that are writers, right? They write words, they write literature. Okay, I write music. So what the hell do they mean? What does it mean? For instance, you said that NY was, your favorite TV show.
Absolutely. Okay. Number one show of all time as far as police dramas.
You know what? I don't have a favorite, but God, I love doing that show. I still like the theme. I go back and listen to it and go, man, I don't think I could have done that any better. Even all this time, usually you think, well, I could have changed this or, nah, I think I got that right.
That's a perfect segue, Mike. Lead me into that, because I wanted to talk about the NYPD Blue. How did you come up with that distinct theme? You got the subway sound, and then basically you've got drums. So talk about that.
Yep. Yeah. So same director is Hill Street and LA Law and Doogie and Greg Hoblet. He and Bochco did a lot of work together and really were very creative together. So they send me the script, and the script's phenomenal. I mean, phenomenal. They tell me, Sipowicz is going to be Dennis. Okay, I've already done stuff. For Dennis. I already know what the actor is. I already have a visual of that. So I said, guys, this script is just phenomenal. And they go, yeah, yep, we're really happy with it. I said, well, let's get together and figure this one out. Come on, let's do it. And so they say, okay, meet us for lunch on the top of Beverly Glen at that restaurant that Herb Alpert now owns. Okay, it's an Italian restaurant. I said, all right, it's right in between where they were at 20th and where I am in the valley. So we meet on the top of Mulholland and Beverly Glen. We sit down to lunch, and they're looking at the menus, and I'm, just chomping at the bit to talk about the music, to talk about the show. they keep me waiting, nobody says a word. I go, guys, are we ever going to talk about this show? Yeah. Let's order first. They order. Now they start eating. I go, guys, are we going to talk? And Bochco says, yeah, and he's eating. And he goes, I've been thinking about it. He said, has there ever been a main title that was just drums? I go, no. And for good reason. I mean, come on, you can't just do drums. What do you
Blasphemy,
yeah.
Mike.
Yeah. So he says, he says, well, that's all I'm thinking about is drums. I go, oh, Jesus. What am I going to? I said, all right, genius, to Hoblet. I go, you got an idea? He goes, yeah. He said, New York, it's 5 boroughs, right? Think of it like it's a human. What? You pull down the physiology thing, there's the human body. Okay. 5 boroughs, right? I'm going, are you on acid? What are you talking about? He goes, well, the thing that connects them all. What is this? Are you Martian? He goes, no, the connectivity. It's the subway system. I go, what? He said, also, I brought you some books on the history of the NYPD. And he hands me the books. I start leafing through the books and I'm going, drums, subway. These 2 highly decorated, they got Emmys coming out their rear ends. I mean, it's like these guys are the biggest thing since night baseball, I'm going, so you 2 jerks are going to say drums and subway. And they're eating, how's your whitefish? I'm going, and they're just, of course, they're just busting my balls, but I go, drums, subway, huh? You know what? Fuck you guys. I know exactly what to do. I know exactly what to do. And they go, yeah, we thought you would. I go, that's the weirdest direction I've ever received in my entire career, but I know exactly what to do. And I right away thought about the drum fill. The greatest drum fill in the history of rock and roll is In the Air Tonight by Phil Collins.
Absolutely.
Yep. Okay. So I thought, okay, I got to beat that sound. And it's big toms with reverse echo, reverse gate on it. Oh, okay. I just got to, the guy I'm working with, my assistant and my cohort, Danny Lux, gone on to become a very, very successful TV composer himself. He's a drummer. Danny, we got to beat that tom-tom sound. I thought, okay, I know I can make a groove out of the clicky-clacky of a train. I can make a groove out of that. And then I thought, he handed me this book. And right away, when you study the history of the NYPD Blue, NYPD, you find out, who were the original guys in the late 1800s? All Irish guys, all Irish immigrants that could fight. Okay, get those Irish guys, they like to fight. Get them, give them badges and guns. They'll figure it out, So I thought, and at the time I'm in love with my about to be wife and Patty and her maiden name McGettigan. Do you think she's okay? That's a West Philadelphia girl that of Irish descent. So I'm going. One of the musics I love as a hobby music is Irish music, Irish folk music. So I go, okay, the middle section is Irish, the drums and the subway, the train, the drums and the subway, the Irish in the middle. I got it. Let's go. So that's
and to think about that theme, so the opening theme, but the way the music during each season evolved was absolutely impressive, because it was like some mellow, low drum tunes with like somebody doing like a like that in the beginning, like the first couple of seasons, and then it just elevated. I mean, the way you changed from season to season was quite impressive, Mike. And obviously that's why you're the best. And I'm just again, that show for the acting, just for the acting is the best, but the music, it's the icing on the cake. And speaking of distinct sounds, so you got the subway and the drums and the Irish people for NYPD Blue. After Steve Zernkilton gives his monotone, dry opening for Law and Order, those famous two notes, dun dun, continues to stand the test of time. As I was listening to it and keep listening to it, were you looking for a judge and a gavel type sound with the dun dun, or how did that come about?
It was. I have a little someplace framed. I have a little note from Dick on his stationery saying, "Isn't it great that after all the career you've had, all the music you've written, the only thing anybody's going to remember when you're dead is two notes that aren't even notes that you didn't want to write." So the way it happened, the whole Law and Order is just the oddest phenomenon in the history of anything. So I'll work backwards. If I shook you out of a sound sleep and I said, what is the most lucrative franchise identity in the history of entertainment? You'd say the Beatles. You'd say, well, who knows what you'd say? Oh, wait, it's Disney on Ice, or it's, I don't know, it's Phantom of the Opera. It's all wrong. The most lucrative thing that's ever been invented is Law and Order. Okay, every minute of every day, okay, of every second of it, blah, 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 all the time, it's playing someplace in the world. Okay, number one. Working backwards. Oh, wait a second. What was Law and Order created for? It was created for CBS. It was a pilot for CBS. It was turned down by a friend of mine, a guy named Kim LeMaster, who was the head of programming. He didn't have room for it. He didn't have a spot for it on that blackboard. In those 5 days of prime time, he didn't have, 5 times 3 is 15. He didn't have
a spot in 1990 for Law and Order?
Did not.
Wow.
And he liked it. He said, man, I really like this, Dick, but it just doesn't fit on CBS. Sorry. Finished. In those days, one network never bought a cast off of another network. A failed pilot never happened, never went to someplace else. A canceled show never went to another network, okay? Genius network television. What a bunch of idiots. At any rate, so one non-idiot, one genius, Brandon, calls up Dick a year after the pilot gets turned down and says, hey, I'd like to look at that pilot you did that everybody says is so great for Law and Order for NBC. So Dick says, really? Yeah. They buy it at NBC. It struggles the first 3 or 4 or 5 episodes and then it catches on and becomes the juggernaut. Okay. So my deal was he sent me a script. I loved the script. I did the theme. That was a handful because he said, you have to define New York City. I said, that's already been done. The guy's name was Gershwin. Okay. It's called Rhapsody in Blue. I'm not that good. Okay. I can't do that. I'm not that. Well, that's what I need, Okay. So i.e. the clarinet in the middle section. Okay. That's a little nod to George Gershwin. Okay, fine. And Dick loved the theme. Okay. I do the score and the theme and I'm all done. And they're on the dub stage, second day of the dub. Call from Dick Wolf. Hey, is there something wrong? Is there a piece of music not working? No, I love everything you did. I said, oh, great, I'm glad. He said, hey, listen, I'm going to date stamp some scene changes, locale changes. I said, oh, that's a good idea. It'll make it even more documentary sort of style. He goes, yeah. I said, well, great. He says, so I need a sound to change scenes. I said, great, terrific. Do I need to get the number for your sound effects department or do you have it? He goes, what? I said, call sound effects. I'm your composer. Don't call me. It's a sound. You need a sound effect. Oh, come on, guy. Come on, I need a favor. Well, now he's got me because I really like him. He needs a favor. So I'm working with Danny Luck, same guy. I go, Danny, we gotta create a sound for these scene changes. So we bang on some drums. We get not a gavel, it's a jail door slamming, a guy hitting an anvil with a hammer, uh, a bunch of men stomping on a wooden floor in a gymnasium in Japan. We put all these little weird sounds together. We took about 4, 5, 6 hours to do the damn thing. I send it over to the dub stage, and Dick calls him, exactly. It's perfect. It's just what I was looking for. I went, great. Don't bother me anymore. Come on, And we laugh, So, I got that little note hanging there saying, dun dun, ching ching, whatever you call the damn thing. It goes 2 notes that aren't even really notes that you didn't want to write.
No, you stand the test of time. It's just the little things that make things so big. And you mentioned Danny Lux. He's from Boston Legal fame as well. He did the music for Boston Legal, correct?
Yeah, and he's still working. He's still working on Grey's Anatomy every week. He's Manifest, a number of other shows. He's become a terrific composer and a great guy. We're still good friends.
I know this is not a standard interview for you, and I've got the questions, and I appreciate you hanging out with me. One of the things when I was doing some research, I saw you talk a story about how Cannell went to bat for you to get your a better share of the money for your themes. He said you were getting stiffed and shafted by the networks and not getting what your due was. Botchko and Wolf too. Is it true you met at a big boy with no lawyers and everything? Let's talk about that story.
Well, yeah, because I'm not money driven, and because these guys are my dearest friends, so they know I'm going to do the gig no matter what. There's no negotiating. It's like, hey, whatever you want to pay me, don't take anything off of the production to pay me any money. I'm already doing so much better than I ever thought I'd do. I don't care about that. I care about the music and the art part of it. And my brother makes sure that I save more than I spend, I mean, it's that simple. So I don't live in Beverly Hills. I still live in the Valley. I still, I'm sure I live a very privileged life and blah, 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 but I'm not money driven. So when Cannell goes on his own, this is originally our original deal, me and Steve, he said, hey, I don't have much influence over the studio. So they really kind of set how much you're going to get paid. I said, I don't care. Let it be whatever it's going to be. That was at Bob's, we just shook hands, I said, I don't care. Don't worry about me. I'm fine. It's like, I just want to do the music. So now Cannell goes out on his own. He becomes the deficit financer, which means he's paying for everything, but he also owns the negative. He owns the library. He owns the future. Okay. Mm-hmm. It's not Universal or Fox or somebody like that. So maybe a month after he goes out on his own, he's working on either the A-Team or Greatest American Hero, one of them, and he calls me. Hey, it's Cannell on the phone. Hey, what's going on? I'm writing away, And he goes, God damn it! I said, what? He goes, I'm so pissed off. I go, what is wrong with you? What who's made you mad? But well, kind of you. I go, excuse me? And he goes, yeah, God damn it, you're my best friend, aren't you? I said, yeah. He goes, well, I just looked at it's the first time I've ever looked at it. The budgets, the pattern budgets from the network for Rockford. I said, what has got you angry? He said, I'm getting filthy rich from this, and you're not making shit. And I'm going, Cannell, first of all, calm down. You're wrong. You're wrong. You don't know anything. You're an idiot. I'm doing fine. I'm a musician. We come in through the kitchen. We play for the rich people. We leave through the kitchen. Once in a while, good things happen to us, like Mancini and a few of us. But but don't worry about it. I'm doing great. I'm doing fantastic. Bullshit. This is all wrong. I want you to sit down and tell me what's the most amount of money I can pay you and Pete to do an episode and not get laughed out of the business. I went, oh, for God's sake. I'll call you back tomorrow. I'm writing music. So I call Pete. I go, Cannell's lost his mind, blah, blah, blah. So I call him back the next day. And I said, all right, Cannell, here's what can happen. You know that music budget? Just give it to me. And I'll hire the musicians, the studio, the cartage, the rentals of this, of that, the copyists. I'll package it. He said, well, has anybody ever done it? I said, yeah, Earl Hagen did it. And he did it successfully. And Cannell goes, well, but I can't let you take that risk. Suppose the whole orchestra, and suppose I don't like this and this. And I said, when's the last time you changed much that I couldn't just change right there while we're doing it? You go, never. I said, so you're telling me that you can take the risk on the whole entire production, but you don't think I can? He goes, well, oh, yeah, you got a point. Yeah, maybe that'll work. I said, I guarantee it'll work. I guarantee you'll be satisfied with the music. I won't stop until you're satisfied, no matter what it costs. I guarantee the product. I guarantee it. He goes, okay. Mike, I don't know, man. That doesn't cost me any more money as a producer. What else can I do for you? I said, well, give me half the publishing. He goes, what's the publishing? I said, you don't need to know, you idiot. Just give it to me. It's not money out of your pocket. It's back in money. He goes, okay, fine. Take half the publishing. Cut. So years later, we start buying, I become a pilot. We start buying jet airplanes together in partnership, right? We're already partners in business and partners in other things and partners, obviously, in TV. And every year, once or twice a year, we go to lunch someplace on the airplane. So we go up to Pebble Beach to have lunch, like a couple of knuckleheads, right? So inevitably, I'm flying with the pilots and he's in the back having a glass of wine. And so I'll start up an engine, I'll go, hey, Cannell, you idiot. He goes, what? I said, you hear that engine? He goes, yeah. I said, that's the publishing, you dumb shit. So that was a running joke with us, the public.
Oh my God. I mean, that's, that's great friendship, man. I just, the show's in its infancy stage. I've got about 10 or 11 in the can here. But I mean, as I do research and talk to different people on my show, I've never heard a story about just that close friendship and how he was looking out for you. And it all started with you guys wanted to beat each other's ass on the beachfront. How about that?
How about that?
It's a rarity in this business because I don't think that happens now, right? I think the networks control everything and you have to negotiate what your percentage is, or is the publishing still stay with the artist?
It doesn't. Most guys in my position, most composers, well, here's a typical example. When I started working for Dick at Universal, Dick says to me at our first Law and Order meeting, right? He goes, hey, I don't know how much I got in the budget. I said, you're the hottest guy out there. I said, did I ask you about money? Did I say one bloody word about money? I said, Dick, I love your script. I want in. I want to be in on this Law and Order idea. And he goes, okay, great. I don't know, and he said, I am aware that you get half the publishing with anything you do for Cannell and anything you do for Bochco. I said, I'm already aware that you'll never get publishing. A composer never will participate in one iota of publishing money from Universal. And to this day, to show you how it works in big corporate settings, I've never received 1 cent of publishing. For every time a program or a piece of music is played over the radio or over the television or broadcast or streamed, a penny, as an example, 1 penny is paid to the composer, the writers, 1 penny is paid to the publisher, right? The publisher does nothing for that money. In the old days, the publisher used to get that copyright looked at and recorded and, worked. A publisher did something. They got it to Frank Sinatra or Dean Martin to sing. They got it. Publishing money is free money for the performing rights, okay? Universal's never done a thing except create an environment where the creators could create the show, and then they released it, right? Okay. Nobody's ever gotten any publishing from Universal in film or television. Neither me, Johnny Williams, Jerry Goldsmith, all of us, none of us, nothing, zero. I've never even gotten a phone call from the head of Universal Publishing, whoever they've been, and there's been probably, 20 of them since I've been working there. I've never gotten even a call and said, hey, you know what? You wrote a lot of really good music for our company, and we really appreciate it. I've never received a gold watch, never received a lunch, never received, you know what? They just take it for granted. And guess what? I kind of understand that. I don't even care. I don't want to have lunch with those guys. I don't even know their names.
It goes back to you not being money driven. So
that's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
A couple more quick questions. We'll take a quick break, and then we're gonna get right into the new album, the new releases that you have. Greatest American Hero, NYPD Blue, Rockford Files, some of my favorite TV themes. But my dark horse is Murder One. Love that series, and that opening as well got you your Emmy Award. Talk about that?
Well, when Bochco called me about it, he said, hey, I got an idea. I said, okay, great. Yeah, that's the way it always starts with all of them. They call me on the phone and go, hey, can I tell you a story? With Cannell, it'd be 6:30 in the morning, because he started working at 5. He's just a maniac. And he knew I'm an early riser too. So, hey, you got time? Can I tell you a story? And I go, yeah, I want to hear it, So Bochco calls me and says, hey, and this is before 24, before anybody else in TV had ever done this. Mm-hmm. He goes, 1 case, 1 season. I went, what? He goes, 1 case, 1 season. I went, whoa. How do you, wait a minute, how do you syndicate it? He goes, I don't know, none of my business. I'm just going to do it. I said, that's a great idea. That's a great idea. So he writes a script, sends me a script, love the script. I go, okay, what are you thinking about? Now, his father was a concert violinist and a very good fiddle player in New York City. And he grew up hearing chamber music in his living room, because that's how string players jam. When me and my friends get together and play it, it's jazz or rock and roll. That's what string players do. They play chamber music. So he says to me, hey, has there ever been a piece of chamber music with a big giant bottom, with it aggressive, but chamber music? And I went, no, but that's a great idea. That's a wonderful idea. So I wrote a piece of piano music, that like you would do with a small chamber orchestra with piano and a large string section and a small woodwind section, And then I put this big giant aggressive bottom on it. And I like the way it came out. I still like that theme. The show was too far ahead of its time for the network to believe in it longer than one season.
I can't believe it got crapped on, because I was a big fan of Daniel Benzali. That first season was good, and then Anthony LaPaglia came in, and season 2 was great as well. So again, like you said, it was probably ahead of its time. Like NYPD Blue, we're never going to see a show like that ever on network television, the way this country is now. I think Sipowicz would get fired or either burned at the stake after the first couple episodes. So you say you like that theme. Is that your favorite theme? What's your favorite TV theme, and what's your least favorite theme that you worked on, if you have one?
I don't know. I mean, I'm honest, Gary. I mean,
What was the biggest pain in the ass theme that you had to do for any of your friends, any networks, any
the
show?
most work intensive was L.A. Law.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
This is kind of a funny story, but this is a God's honest truth. So, me, Botchko, and Hoblet, boom, a home run with Hill Street, right? I mean, big home run. Everybody's talking about us. Everybody's going, "Oh man, these guys are unbelievable. It's so different," and blah 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 blah. I forget whether Doogie was next, or I don't have the chronology exactly or alike. But I do know this, that the pilot script for L.A. Law was so bloody good. So Botchko sends it to me. I go, "Man, this is fantastic. This is fabulous." He goes, "Okay, well, go to work." He said, "I'm not going to shoot it for 8 months, and it's not going on the air for a year, or whatever." He said, and he was already ABC guaranteed him, I think 13. So it was already sold. It wasn't a pilot that wasn't going to go. It was already sold. And we already hit this home run. So guess what? They're nervous. They don't want to have, they don't want to be a one-hit wonder. They don't want to just do it once. They want to do it a bunch of times. And the big success breeds the insecurity of, okay, now what are you going to do? Ask Aaron Judge. Has a season like he has a career like he has, and then goes up there and I mean, it's hard being successful because you got to do it again. So I write one and I kind of mock it up and I put it together and I send it over there. Botchko, "Hey, I got your theme." I went, "Oh, don't say anymore. Don't say anymore. Next case." So he goes, "Well, I like it." I said, "Not good enough. You got to love it, buddy. You got to love it." Went through that 4 times. 4 times. And I think they were good. I don't know. I don't remember. It's if they don't love it, next I got to do it again.
So do you delete the ones that they don't like, or do you keep that just to listen to it and say, okay, this is what was wrong and everything?
No,
Do you listen to some of the shit that you don't like, or you keep?
Oh, goodbye,
Okay.
goodbye.
Okay.
Throw it back. I don't keep a trunk. I don't ever keep anything. I don't refer back. It's all part of this lake. And every time I learn something or hear something or think of something, I just throw that bucket of water in the lake. And every time I need something from the lake, I take a bucket of water out of the lake. I don't catalog things. I don't have a trunk. I don't.
In the beginning, and Mike, in the beginning of that series, you had the saxophone, I believe, start out, and then as the seasons went on, you had that one dark, deep chord to start, like, and then goes with the trunk sound, and then you go into the open. Is that how it just evolved over season after season?
It's even better than that. So 4 of them, and I whiff every time. Air, no baseball on the bat. So I said, "Okay, you guys got to come over to my place. We're going to do this together." They go, "What?" I said, "Just come to my place." So I got a couch behind. I got my keyboard in front of me, and I got a little 808 drum machine, and I got a few other little things. And I said, "Sit down on the couch. Tell me when you like something." And they go, "What? What are we doing?" I said, "We're doing it together." This is Hoblet and Botchko. I said, "Okay." I said, "Look, it's the law. It's the majesty of the scales. Okay. It's blind. Okay.
Temper justice with mercy. Right. Yeah.
Exactly correct. And it's majestic." They go, "Well, yeah, what? I said, "French horns, you idiots. French horns." I go, so I'm dinking around. And finally I go, And they go, well, what's that? I said, just a little melody. I don't know. And they went, oh. And I get a little French horn sample up, a little chicken chit French horn. And they go, oh, that sounds really good. I said, right. I said, now look, the trunk slams, it says California on it. It says LA Law. It says California. I said, so we got to define where we are. And they go, well, what is that? Is it the Beach Boys? I said, you can't do that with the law. You can't do the Beach Boys. I said, but I could do like the big giant snare from Born in the USA. So I get up my drum machine, big echo, big giant snare. You know,
Right.
and they go, oh my God, that's fantastic. What? Oh, what is, oh my God. And I said, well then, okay, big orchestral, right? And they go, oh my God, this is, and they're just touching themselves. They're so happy, right? And I said, what else is your series about? I don't know. What do you mean? I said, it's about sex. Everybody's fucking everybody in that office, you know? I said, it's Arnie Becker. I said, come
Right.
on, it's
Right.
sex. So Botch goes, okay, what is sex? I said, it's an alto saxophone. It's Junior Walker. It's, it's an alto saxophone. And he goes, what's that sound like? I get a little sample of, boo doo 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 doo, I play him Junior. I play him, and he goes, oh my God. I said, so, okay, so we do, took us about 40 minutes. I go, okay, lunch, let's go. We're done. And they go, what just happened? I said, I'm your jukebox. You just put a quarter in this ear and you just got your theme. And you helped me. You guys helped me. I led you through it, sure, but you were great producers because you were decisive. No, not yeah. No, yeah.
That's just a hell of a story. Fascinating. This is the kind of stuff that I like to hear. I mean, you've done a lot of interviews in your life, Mike, and you know how some of them go. It's kind of cookie cutter, but to
Yep.
hear, those kind of stories and how things start from the beginning and just the closeness of, and I haven't heard a story ever of what you've been telling me, how close you were with Botchko and Cannell and Dick Wolf and just that friendship and how it just grew into phenomenal TV and just those are the kind of stories where people, when they watch this interview, they're going to be like, wow, okay, it's not just Mike sitting at a keyboard or sitting with his musicians making TV themes. It's really you sit down and get an idea and you talk with the guys that make the show. And like you said, you put it together. That's just a phenomenal story. Great story. Before we
Yeah.
take another quick time out, Mike, best advice you've gotten in your professional and personal life?
Mhm. Yeah, I already said it. My parents and my brother, look in the mirror. If you can say, hey, I did a pretty good job, yeah, I kind of, I was true to the way I was raised. I was true to my character. I wasn't hurting anybody. I was trying to do the best I could for the most amount of good for the most amount of people. I started with myself. I took care of myself, but I didn't do it in a way that I couldn't look my kids straight in the face, my grandkids, my parents, my brother, and say, yeah, I wasn't perfect. I mean, I certainly have made mistakes, and there are things that I could have done better, and but I never knowingly hurt anyone or took advantage of anyone or didn't give credit to somebody that helped me or inspired me. So that's the best personal advice was by example from my family. The best business advice I ever got was from, my mom and dad again going, hey, find something you love to do and you never go to work. you go to play, you go to do what you would do for nothing. I look, and I'm not blowing smoke up your skirt. I'm just telling you the truth. I have done a fair amount of interviews, and you're obviously really good at this and really well prepared.
Thank you.
You would do this if you weren't making any money at it. You'd do it as a fan. You'd do it as a broadcaster. You would do it as an interviewer.
You're absolutely right. I mean, because my thing is radio. I've done radio in my life, and obviously now, look, I got a face for TV and I'm a face for radio, and I'm doing this. So I'm in front of a camera. I'd rather be in a studio like you, faceless, doing this, but it's the way of the world now. And yeah, I love doing it. And this is probably about 12 years too late, but a lot of things happened in my life, and finally, all the stars aligned, and now we got it going. So hopefully, for me and you, like when you put out your music and you want to do it and make sure that it's good and people enjoy it. For me, I want to have that content, the not so regular content where people have regular interviews where they ask the same questions over and over again. I like to get kind of like a little deeper, and I'm not a guy who likes to sandbag anybody, because that's just not. Because why would I want to burn that bridge? Because like say if I wanted to say some things about you and do some stupid interview, it's going to be like, okay, you screwed over Mike Post. We're not going to talk to you, and word gets around, especially the way Hollywood is. So totally.
Well, but see, all that shows what you just said shows that you show your true colors. You show who you really are. By the way you do your job. You do your job. We all start out as fans. You listen to the radio and go, God, I want to be part of that thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Absolutely.
Okay, I listened to music and I went, I gotta know how the hell that works. Why does and that's what propels us. It propels. The difference between the civilians and us is very small. We all start out as these fans. We all, God, I gotta know how that works. I got to be part of that. That's the difference. They just got to enjoy it as listeners or viewers or as fans. Guys like me and you, oh no, let me in. Get me the fuck in that room.
Right.
So that's, I can already tell you're the same guy. And so the best advice I ever got kind of came from myself, which is worry about the music. The business takes care of itself. The business, I don't care. I don't give a shit.
Right.
It's, right. Don't worry about that.
Perfect.
Yeah.
His new album, Message from the Mountains and Echoes from the Delta. Mike Post. Going to come back and talk with him about that next, right here on Behind the Mic.
Team Keys and your financial services division manager, Whitley Brooks Edmondson, specializing in affordable insurance and investments. Call 248-403-0919 to book your appointment. Slugmaster, turning batters into hitters. Log on to slugmaster.com for a dealer near you.
Okay, Mike, I'm quoting you here. You said you haven't done anything that scared you in 30 years. Get off your ass and do something hard. Was the new project that scary, more so than doing the TV themes on your new albums?
Geometrically more scary. Yeah. Yeah, this was like, so my audience has always been Cannell, Botchko, Belisario, Dick Wolf. Okay, that's my audience. I'm not trying to please the network. I'm not trying to please the public. I don't know anything about pleasing the public. I only know about my audience of one or two guys. So okay, COVID comes. I got nothing to do. I'm okay. You can play golf and mess around with the gym and stay fit and play golf. And play with the grandkids and do this and do that. Oh, come on. My ideas aren't stopping, So I hear some bluegrass music and I'm going, God, I used to love playing bluegrass. I used to love this. And God, I love this music. Jeez. And I'm going, oh, I wonder if anybody's ever written a concert piece for a bluegrass band, 5-piece bluegrass band, and a giant orchestra. And I'm going, well, that'd be hard as shit. Bluegrass players don't read, they jam. The orchestra reads, they don't jam. How do you put those people? Well, wait a second, stupid. You're the guy that did classical gas when you're 23. That's basically guitar licks in the orchestra. Those are guitar licks, kind of rhythm section licks at the very least. Well, you did that successfully. Well, why don't you try and do this? So I said, okay, I got my drafting board out. I got my pencil and paper out. Not the way I make TV music in the last 25, 30 years. It's all computer, sequence, blah, blah, blah. Okay, start writing. And I just wrote these little bluegrass tunes and then orchestrated them. And I took them into the fellow that was working next to me, the way Danny Lux had years ago. Now I've got a young genius named John O'Hara working with me. I go, Johnny, here, look at this. And I show him some 6-line sketches. What is this? I said, I don't know. I think it might be a concert piece for a bluegrass band and an orchestra. He goes, oh my God, what a great idea. That's never been done. I said, well, I think you're right. I did some research, and there's a bluegrass concerto for violin, but it's not really bluegrass. It's a woman that can kind of play bluegrass, and there's some licks from rodeo or this or that, but it's not really that. He goes, oh, let me help you. Let me be part of this. I said, certainly. So halfway through this, I'm going, you know what? If this works for a bluegrass band and an orchestra, it'll work for a blues band and an orchestra. So I made an album of 2 30-minute pieces, one called Message from the Mountains, a bluegrass concerto. The other side of the album, if you will, if it was on vinyl, which it's not, the other 30 minutes of a 1-hour program is Echoes of the Delta, which is a blues band and an orchestra. And so that's what these 2 pieces are. I know they're different. I'm pretty sure that not everybody's going to love them. The pure bluegrass people are going to go, that's not bluegrass music. The pure orchestra people are going to go, that's bullshit. That isn't classical music. So, you know what? You can't please everybody. Whatever, you might as well please yourself. Ricky Nelson. Okay. So, so I did these 2 pieces. It was hard. It took about 1.5 years to actually do. I couldn't have done it without an amazing amount of help from John O'Hara and fantastic players in these 2 rhythm sections. And I did them piece by piece because of COVID. And then I waited. I mocked up the orchestra stuff with Johnny's help. And then I waited. When COVID broke, I brought in 80 players into the Streisand scoring stage at 20th Century Fox, and I conducted for the first time in a long time of a really large orchestra, and it was unbelievable. It was so much fun, and I mixed it, for months. Great scoring mixer named Dennis Sands, who's just a genius. We all worked together with John O'Hara, Andy Berkheimer from my office, great engineer. And the result is this album on Sony Classics. And I'm proud of it. I didn't do it for money. I didn't do it for fame. It's really done for the art of it. And I hope, and I think some people have already gotten some very positive feedback. I think some people really like it.
And so this is obviously, this project would be harder than having to sit down to think of theme music for different TV shows throughout your life?
Way harder. I mean, for me, now maybe it would be easier for some other guys or something, but it's never been done. Nobody's ever done it, Nobody's ever, been able to have the conversation between the rhythm sections and the orchestra because they don't jam and they don't read. So
Yeah.
how do you do that? Well, technology had allowed me, and frankly, success in television did not come without money. So I took some of that money and spent it on this. It's like, okay. It's like,
And you talk about the immensely talented musicians that came and were a part of this project. Was it a pretty easy sell for them to come and join you on this?
absolutely. Number one, I paid them.
Okay.
I mean, look, musicians are great. I mean, we're all, it's like, what matters the most to us? Hey, the other guys like it. Did I play something somebody else liked? Am I still in the band? And oh, are they going to feed us? Is there pizza? Are there women? Does somebody want to get together with me because I was up on his bandstand? Oh, you better pay me. God damn it, I want to be paid. It's last, but it is in the list.
Have you done any work TV theme wise? I know you're great friends with Cannell and Botchko and Wolf and Belisaro. Have you ever done something and said, hey, you don't have to pay me?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. I've I've gone into things and said, don't worry about the money. You're just doing this like a demo. You're just doing this as you're trying to get this sold. I've done a lot of work that didn't pay. Well, who cares? I mean, that's not up to me. That's later. That's the caboose.
I
I'm
haven't
driving.
talked to many musicians. I had Najee on, saxophonist, Grammy-winning saxophonist, when the show kicked off, and so I haven't really gotten to the musician part of it. But you're probably a rare breed who doesn't want to get someone who doesn't take money sometimes for their work. That's I could probably think some people want to get paid for doing whatever they want to do.
Well, maybe, but if in the heart of hearts, every musician, they didn't start this for money. This is, first of all, look, this isn't a vocation. It's not an advocation. It's not a following. It's not a path. It's not it's not what gives meaning to your life. There's only one word that works with this shit: obsession. This is an obsession. All of us go to sleep thinking about this shit. We dream it, every single one of us. We wake up and go, holy shit, how can we get, how do I do, how can I get better at, how can I figure that out? God, and all of us, the glass is more than half empty. Yeah. What you said about me, that's all factual. Yeah, I'm the man, boy. I am the, you know what? I ain't so good. I'm good, but I ain't Mancini. I ain't Jerry Goldsmith, for Christ's sakes. And Johnny Williams, the same guy. He's 13 years older than me, from North Hollywood, same way I am. He goes, Postman, I don't know how you do what you do, man. You were really good at that. I'm going, are you kidding?
How about that?
Are you kidding me?
The two goats in movie and television, John Williams and Mike Post, and both humble and saying, well, you are your own worst critic. I mean, even for me, when I'm doing the show, when it gets edited and put up, I'm gonna be like, oh my God, well, look at my two chins, or look at how I stuttered on this and that. So I sit back and watch some of my old interviews. I'm like, Jesus Christ, you blow. So it's one of those things where you're your own worst critic. What do you want people to take away from these two works of art? And are you most proud of this more than any of the TV work you've done?
No, no, no. It's all music. It's all part of this fantastic lifetime. So I don't have any favorites. I don't, like I told you, I don't look back much. And I never hardly go back and listen to my own stuff. I'm too busy hearing stuff that I hadn't heard before, and
Right.
and gobbling up new stuff. But what do I want people to take from it? I want people to enjoy it. I want people to go, wow, I never heard those two things put together exactly like that. You know, it that's what I've tried to do every single time. That's what I tried to do with drums and Subway and Irish. That's what I tried to do with, popping the strings on a Kramer Stratocaster and put a clarinet in the middle of the damn thing. Who does that? No, what an idiot. It's like those don't go together. Oh yeah, they do, So, first of all, after Bach died, right? There's only 12 of them. The 13th one's called an octave. Okay, there's only 12 different notes here. And after Bach died, he exhausted the possibilities. So, we're all just kind of painting with the same colors that Van Gogh already had, and that poor bastard cut off his ear, so it's crazy. It's crazy making. That's why when you go back and you watch this and go and criticize yourself, a life in art is a life of blessings, and one of the blessings is huge insecurity. That's welcome
True.
welcome to the deal.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Another one of the famous Mike Post quotes that I saw is, "You say you're the luckiest guy you've ever met."
I am. You know it. I am. I really believe that. That isn't just some, bullshit. I really believe it. I don't know anybody this fortunate.
Our final segment, Mike, in a word, we finally reached the end. I appreciate you sticking around and talking with me. Like I said, I could have gone on and on. There was some questions that I had here that I'll, maybe we can do a part two, especially if you're
I'm your
doing
dog.
some more
I'm your
TV
dog.
themes. I know you're working on a TV show now. Was it a BBC show?
Yeah, called Mammoth. It's fantastic. It's so much fun.
Oh,
So
you know what?
different.
Yeah, I know what I wanted to ask you before we get to in a word. So Van Halen is one of my favorite groups, and I didn't even know you produced Van Halen 3. Well, first of all, don't take this the wrong way. I was not a big fan of Gary Sharon. I was okay with that one song they released, but I was not a big fan of Van Halen 3. Give me real quick, what was it like to work with the master, Eddie Van Halen?
uh, you know, Basically Mozart, couldn't want, and I love Ed, as I love Ed as a guy he was, and, fatally flawed, blah, 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 genius, flat ass genius, and a wonderful guy.
Greatest
Swarm.
guitarist, in your opinion, in the history of rock and roll?
Well, you can't say that,
Oh,
there
I was
is
putting you on the spot, Mike. I thought maybe you'd jump on it. So.
top five, uh,
Okay.
among the top five. I could, because so different, but bang, what,
Right.
what,
Right.
what the hell, okay, genius. So, um, Van Halen 3, I did my job. Eddie asked me, could I help him to do an album sober? Okay.
Wow.
I'm not a druggie. I've never done any drugs, very little alcohol, just, I'm addicted to music and things like that, accomplishment. Okay. So I helped a guy that was like a little brother to me to do a shitty album. It's not a very good album. Now, Al was having tremendous problems at the time. Eddie played drums on that album. Al couldn't play at that point in time. He was going through a bad divorce, and he had his addiction problems, which he solved, at least today. And and Al's a great guy. Al's definitely top 5 rock and roll drummers of all time, for sure.
Yep.
Ed's definitely a genius and one of the best, most innovative guitar players of all time. He played bass, he played guitar, he played drums. He picked out Gary. He told Gary every note to sing. It isn't Gary's fault, you know. It just it didn't happen. It wasn't, the songs weren't great. But he did it pretty sober. He did it sober, and I got my job done. And he and I reconnected after a few years after that, and stayed friends until he died. And
Well, it would have been interesting to see you produce that album, the last album they made in 2012, Different Kind of Truth, and working with David Lee Roth. I'm just wondering, do you think you could have handled someone like him? He's very extroverted personality. I say top 5 frontman is also in rock and roll history is David Lee
Well,
Roth.
okay, I think differently about Dave. I think Dave is a circus act.
Okay.
I don't think he's a great singer at all. I think Sammy's a better singer.
Okay.
You know, I don't know either one of them, never met either one of them. I don't know. I mean, to me, musically, Eddie was the show. Eddie was everything.
Oh yeah.
And Al was, man, just as important. I don't think Mike Anthony was a great bass player. I think chugging, out of a fifth of bourbon on stage is about one of the, okay, that's just part of the show. Okay, now were they great showmen? Sure. A hell of an act, I mean, so different. But what was really at the heart of it? This maniac genius from God,
Yep.
Drummer and guitar player. That's what Van Halen was. Van Halen was the two guys with that last name that came from fucking God. I mean, nobody's like those two guys,
What do you think of Wolfgang and his work so far?
Same last name, same came down the same highway. That kid's a genius. That kid is stone cold great.
He's got it, and he plays every instrument as well. So I mean, the apple certainly didn't fall far from the tree. It was hanging right there still. It didn't fall at all. So
no, it didn't fall at all. They
exactly.
just handed off, just like next.
Mike, appreciate your time. Our final segment called "In a Word." I'm going to give you some, places, some people. If you can describe it in a word, fine. If not, expound and expand the answer as long as you want. Here we go. In a word, with award-winning composer, the GOAT of television theme music, Mike Post. Mike, in a word, growing up in the San Fernando Valley.
Sweet.
Wow. There we go. Mike's going to be, so we've got 2 who went through, right? Yeah, okay, so Mike might be the 3rd here. I got a good feeling here. Pete Carpenter.
Surrogate father.
That counts as one. In a word, with Mike Post. Okay, it's 3 guys here. Stephen J. Cannell, Stephen Bochco, and Dick Wolf. If you want to do it separately, that's fine. But if you got one word for all 3, be my guest.
Genius.
Easy enough. In a word, the TV industry now.
I have to ask a question. Network TV, is that what you're asking about?
Yeah. Network TV. Yeah.
The word is dead.
TV. So TV industry now, network TV is dead. I agree with you. Like I said, shows, with the exception of Law and Order, shows like NYPD Blue would never make it in today's world. Even Justified, the original Justified with Timothy Olyphant on cable, if you put that to network TV. So your career.
Grateful.
Final question, in a word. You can answer this any way you want to. What would people say? What would you want people say, and what would people say about your legacy?
Honesty.
What would you say about your legacy?
Humble.
Excellent answers. Mike Post, I appreciate it so much for your taking the time and spending, almost 2 hours with this interview. My editors are pissed at me already. Thanks for taking the time to sit down and talk with me. I love your work. Like I said, you are your music, your TV theme music is going to stand the test of time. I love it. All the shows that I've watched, your name is on it, and continued success. Stay healthy, and down the line, hopefully, if more music comes out, we'll get together again and do a part 2 of this interview.
Great to meet you. Wonderful spending time with you. You're great at your job, honestly. No smoke. Just you're really good at your job.
Thanks so much, Mike. You take care of yourself. I'll be in touch.
See you, Garrett.
Team Keys and your financial services division manager, Whitley Brooks Edmondson, specializing in affordable insurance and investments. Call 248-403-0919 to book your appointment. Slugmaster, turning batters into hitters. Log on to slugmaster.com for a dealer near you.
Once again, big thank you to Mike Post for coming on, the all-time greatest TV theme composer and musician in history. Funny how him and John Williams, he's the go to the movies, and Mike Post is the go to television. So great to talk to him. Had much more to talk about. I think we might do a part 2, and look forward to when he comes into Chicago, get together, and we can sit down and talk about careers and sports and just have a good old time. Thanks for watching. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Also, you can email us, follow the show, Instagram at the One Behind the Mic. And if you want to get Mike Post's new album, Message from the Mountains and Echoes from the Delta, you go online. It dropped in April. And if you want to listen to some of his themes on MikePost.com. It's even got the Emmy-winning theme Murder One on there as well. So big thank you. Today is November 1st and this taping, and usually we do Sunday night tapings, but because of obviously schedule and Hollywood, and that's just the way it goes, we're doing a taping in the daytime. But this past week has been 2 years since I lost my mother to cancer. Stubborn woman. She, got her treatment, went into remission a little bit, but that woman never stopped smoking, and it obviously took her life. So, I miss you, Mom. It's been 2 years. Dad's, 6th, 7th anniversary coming up in December. So, yeah, both parents are gone. Definitely Dad and Mom used to watch the shows that Mike Post did themes for as well. Rockford Files was one of Dad's favorite shows as well. So thanks for watching. I miss you, Mom. Fuck cancer and cancer awareness. Make sure you get tested and give your loved ones a squeeze. And once again, hit that like button, please. Hit that subscribe button, and follow us on Instagram at the One Behind the Mic. So for all of us here at Behind the Mic, thanks for watching. Have a good weekend.
Behind the Mic has been brought to you by Team Keys and your financial services division manager, Whitley Brooks Edmondson, specializing in affordable insurance and investments. Team Keys, keep elevating yourself. Call 248-403-0919 to book your appointment. And Slugmaster, turning batters into hitters. Log on to slugmaster.com for a dealer near you. Behind the Mic is a Did He Go production, produced by Z-Force Media. Stage manager is Heather Marie. The executive producer of Behind the Mic is Eric Ferguson.